Our interview tonight is with Joe Rucker from Nashville, Tennessee. Joe, welcome to Neon Productions Radio.
Hey, Bert, good to see you in person.
In person.
Live and in person.
We are doing this live. I don't get a chance to do live interviews.
Right.
Last time I talked to you was about 3 years ago. You called in, and we had a nice talk and got familiar with your music. Before we go into revisiting that past, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Well, I'm real excited. I've got a new project that's in the works. We're very, very close to getting it finished. It's got a lot of new material on there, a lot of songs that I've written. There's a couple of really well-chosen covers that I'm doing, and we've got some duet surprises on there as well. A duet with the legendary Jim Glazer. And also, in about a week and a half or so from now, we'll be doing the vocal for a duet that Marty Rabin from the group Shenandoah has agreed to do with me. We're going to put that on the record as well. I'm excited about it. A lot of good things going into that, and some video promotion with it too. So we're looking forward to getting that off the ground.
Establish a release date yet?
Well, we are hoping for late February, early March to actually get it out. So
just in time for spring.
That's right.
Now, a little bit on your background. You originally were born in Texas, but grew up in Florida?
Right, that's right. I call myself a technical Texan because I was there for, my dad worked for Boeing, and I was born in Baytown, which is right outside of Houston. And shortly after I was born, he was transferred back to Florida, where he came from. So I was there for about 6 months. So I just barely got in as a technical Texan, but I was raised in Central Florida.
Your dad was also into music, wasn't he?
Yes. He from I can remember falling asleep in his guitar case. He'd have people come over to the house and they would play all night, and I would get tired and curl up in his guitar case and take naps. So we had music around the house as long as I can remember. And I guess I was a part of that from infancy, really.
That long of an influence, that has affected your styling, hasn't it?
Oh yes, I've been influenced by a lot of things, but of course I'd say my dad is probably right up there at the top. He was the guy that sort of taught me the first three chords I learned on the guitar, and I thought everybody's dad wrote songs. Growing up, he was always writing a song, here or there. I thought that was just, a part of everyone's life. And then as I got older, I realized that, hey, some people's fathers don't even play, So I didn't realize how blessed I was until I got away from there and didn't get to hear him play every day. But yeah, I've got a lot of my dad in me.
You came to Nashville in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first thing you did when you came into town?
Oh, I remember that quite well. I drove into town by myself. I had rented an apartment sight unseen because I had like 3 weeks to get up here because I had a job offer up here. And my wife came like 2 days later, and my parents drove her up in the U-Haul. And so I was alone on a Saturday night. So the first thing that I did was went down to a familiar place that I knew that I had come up whenever I had come to Nashville before, and that was the Ernest Tubb Record Shop. And I went to the Midnight Jamboree down there. And I never will forget that. There was, it was Jim and Jesse McReynolds and the Virginia Boys that were hosting that night. And so I spent Saturday night there at the Ernest Tubb Record Shop, and then came home and slept on the floor because I didn't even have a bed yet, And I think we had, it one of your favorite foods that night I had, and that was a big slice of pepperoni pizza.
There you go. You got your guitar with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time for a song.
Okay.
What would you like to do? Something maybe from your first CD, Nashville Scenes?
Yeah, I could do that. There's a song that... well, why don't we do the title track to Nashville Scenes? We're talking about a song that goes way back. This song was written by my dad, and it's a true story of how he fell asleep on the couch and had a dream that he had made it big in Nashville. Last night I dreamed of Nashville scenes and guitars playing loud, and that they made a place for me. Levi jeans and country queens, living music city style, and being introduced by Roy Acuff on the Grand Ole Opry. I love those Nashville scenes, $1,000,000 crowds and big limousines, where everybody knows my name. Running round from town to town, me and Merle boiling cabbage down, and ending up in the Stars Hall of Fame. Now this is where it gets a little dicey. Everything was going fine till I woke up on that old couch of mine. I realized how things really were. I turned off the football game, but Roy Acuff, he never knew my name. And as for Merle Haggard, well, he don't either. But I love those Nashville scenes and $1,000,000 crowds and big limousines, where everybody knows my name. Running round from town to town, me and Merle boiling cabbage down, ending up in the Stars Hall of Fame. I love those Nashville scenes, $1,000,000 crowds and big limousines, where everybody knows my name. Running round from town to town, me and Merle boiling cabbage down, ending up in the Stars Hall of Fame. Lord, I wish it wasn't a dream.
A true story.
That's right. Yeah, and that got a lot of play overseas when that came out. Over in the Netherlands and in Germany, that was one of the tracks I'd always get a lot of playlists back on. And people that love that traditional country sound and the story behind a lot of the older artists and you know that were put in there. It's a real well written song. It's one of my favorite of my dad's tunes.
Excellent. Now, you've had a chance to appear with Bill Anderson, Hank Locklin, Charlie Louvin, Chet Williams, Junior Brown. How did you do this?
Well, we talked about the Ernest Tubb Record Shop. I started hanging out there every week when I moved to town, and I went one Saturday night when a fellow by the name of Jack Green was hosting, and I just had enough gumption. You know, I was in my early 20s, and I figured the only thing that could happen to me is someone tells me no, so I just went up to Jack after the show and said, hey, I'm a singer-songwriter, I need to be on this show, and I was talking to him about it, and he said, well, come back next month, which would have been in November. I moved here in October '98, and he said, I'll be on it again, I'll put you on then. Well, I decided I wasn't going to take any chances for him to forget about me. So the night that he was appearing there, which would have been sometime in November, I went ahead and called my friend Hank Lachlan and asked him if he could get me backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, because Jack was performing on the Opry that night. So I went in his dressing room at the Opry and I said, "Hey Jack, my name's Joe Rucker. I'm the guy that you said, hey, you know, you're going to put me on tonight." And, you know, he acted like he remembered me. I don't know whether he did or not, but I wasn't going to give him a chance to forget, and I figured I had all of that time early in the evening to get with him about it. So he just turned around to his band, the Jolly Green Giants. I remember Pennington there and a few other people, and said, "Hey, this young man's going to be on the Midnight Jamboree with us tonight. Let's go over his song." And we rehearsed my song for the Midnight Jamboree backstage at the Grand Ole Opry room, in the dressing room number 8 back there. I'll never will forget that. And the first song that I sang on WSM, which is that famous radio station for the Midnight Jamboree, was the old song "Peace in the Valley."
That's a great song.
Yeah, so it was a great moment. It's something I always remember, being introduced by Jack and then him coming out afterwards, and really you could see, I mean, his whole face lit up, and man, just to have one of my heroes that I had listened to all my life admire something that I was doing just floored me. You know, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that must have been a real personal high for you.
It was. It really was.
But you, after a while of being in Nashville, you developed friendships with many of these iconic figures in country music. How is that translating into your music these days?
Well, one of my other big influences, there's three main people that I would attribute to, besides my father. Hank Lachlan was huge influence on me. He taught me, when I met Hank Lachlan when I was about 11 or 12 years old in Florida, my dad worked with his former son-in-law. It was a turning point for me in the sense that, I had listened to country music up until that point, but here's a guy that I looked at really as a historical figure in country music, and he was. He sold millions and millions of records, and worked with everybody. I mean, for crying out loud, folks like George Jones opened for him, and he saw the beginning of Elvis when Elvis came over here. When he was overseas in England, the Beatles was his backup band before they even came here to America. So
I did not know this.
on a television show over there, they backed him up.
Really?
So when I met him, I started digging. Whereas most people of my age at the time wanted the latest and greatest, I was sort of digging, to find these what I thought were buried treasures. And I started getting into all of the older artists like Jack Green and Ernie Ashworth and those guys from the Grand Ole Opry. And as I got older and came to town, I sought those people out because they did what I liked. And the other guy was a guy named Eddie Raven, and he was the absolute first concert that I went to in 1991. I was about 12, 13, and developed a fan-type relationship with him that developed into a friendship, and ended up recording with him when I came to town. And everything is all about networking here. You meet one person, and then through them you meet a few other people, and through them you meet, and it cycles back around. And to look back now and to be able to say, all these guys that I've been working with that I know, it's just unbelievable to me. I couldn't have imagined it as a child or as a boy listening to this music. we're doing a tribute thing for Dallas Frazier this weekend. And to think of all of the, I mean, he wrote the songbook for country music, in my opinion, and I know this guy. It just, all those times in the living room when I talked to you before about, sleeping in my dad's guitar case.
Right.
How many nights I sat up listening to my dad sing Dallas Frazier songs and, Hank Lachlan songs and Jack Green songs. And I grew up to know all these people. It's just, sometimes I'm flabbergasted by that,
Now, your friendship with these people, have they brought you songwriting opportunities?
Well, back a few years ago when we started doing a lot of these songwriters nights, a lot of them you did on your program,
right,
on your radio station. Through networking there, I've written with a lot of great writers. I think of guys like Jim McBride who wrote so many wonderful hits, and our friend Glenn Douglas Tubb who wrote some legendary songs, and
Skip a Rope is still being sung by kids today.
Yes. My little Campbell, she loves that song, and she always will, But and so I've met a lot of great, wonderful people here, and I wouldn't have traded my experience and my time here in Nashville for anything. It's just been my life. It's been my life.
Yeah.
It really has.
Now, in 2007, you released a second album called Untangle My Mind.
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about with that title?
Well, I had the title, and I don't know. I just tossed it around a lot. I thought it would be a great title for an album, and then I ended up writing a song just because I had the title, And it's not the typical your typical song, I guess, in the sense that it's not really about a love story. It's more or less about wanting to get away from it all,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how that came to be.
Did that have anything to do with the Nashville Scene thing with? There were a lot of venues around here stopped paying artists and stopped paying performers, and was that part of the?
Well, it could have been an underlying theme for sure. Nashville, you could, as a musician, you could starve to death in Nashville very easily.
Yeah,
and,
just like an actor in Hollywood,
right? And all of the money that I have made, what little I've made in music, has been away from town. In my early days here, I would book into Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia. I've gone as far in recent years as up into Pennsylvania and Ohio and around in that area.
And you've also done jamborees in West Virginia?
Yeah, the Wheeling Jamboree is still operating. It's not on WWVA any longer, but it's still operating. And really it's the second oldest live radio show up to the Grand Ole Opry.
Right.
It's still going, and I've made a few appearances on that. But yeah, to get out there and to actually work where you're making a little bit of money, you have to do it away from Nashville, because the thing of it is, there's so many great musicians here in town, in Nashville, and they're all willing to play for nothing, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
They want to be heard, so they're willing to just do it for free, and it creates this vicious cycle of not being able to get paid for your work. But and a lot of us, we have other jobs because of that, because you have to eat.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we'd like to hear another song, from that album, Untangle My Mind.
Okay, let's see here. I'll do a song. I'll do a song that Eddie Raven wrote, and then I put on this album. He recorded with me on another song, but this is a song that he wrote called "If as a Bird on a Chain." If I could take back all the things that I've said and change all the wrong in this life that I've led, I'd take back the tears and 100 other things. But if is a bird with no wings, if blind men could see, and if losers could win, if age never showed on the face of old men, if you could forget that I've told you lies, but if is a bird that can't fly, if I were the man you hoped I'd be, if I were that man, I wouldn't be me. But I love you so, and that's a real shame. If is a bird on a chain, if I had a dime, I'd try one more time. If you were at home, if you'd answer the phone, if I had but one more chance to explain, but if is a bird on a chain, if I were the man you hoped I'd be, if I were that man, I wouldn't be me. But I love you so, and that's a real shame. If is a bird on a chain, if is a bird on a chain.
That's an excellent song. That's one of my favorites on that CD, Untangle My Mind. And this is an 18-song CD.
Yeah, we had, it was one of those things, you know, it's almost a double album. But I got in the studio and we had such great material, I just couldn't bear it apart with one. So we just put the whole 18 on there.
Now you had duets with Hank Lachlan and Clifford Curry and Eddie Raven.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's got to be high points for a singer-songwriter that's basically unknown at that point.
Right. And we got a lot of buzz off of that album because of that, you know. And the cool thing about it was, you know, Hank and Eddie were really such major influences on me and such great friends that just having that, you know, whether it sold 1 million or sold 3 copies, it was worth millions to me. I mean, I wouldn't trade those experiences for all the money in the world. And especially, you know, the Hank Lachlan song was a song called For Just a Little While Tonight. And it was a song that he and Jim Reeves wrote together. Mm-hmm. They were coming back from a RCA tour in Germany, one of the first, if not the first, I believe. And they wrote that on the plane coming back. and a group called the Ray Conniff Singers recorded it in an album, but it wasn't, it didn't do anything. And it had been sitting on the shelf all these years, and I'd done some research on the BMI website one day and saw, wow, he wrote a song with Jim Reeves. I didn't realize that. I'd known him all those years. So I called up his wife, Anita, was talking to her about it. And she said, yeah, I got a tape of it. Let me send you a demo, because your voice would sound great on that. And so she sent me the song, and I said, well, I'd love to do it, but I really would like Hank to come in and do it with me. And she said, well, he'll do that next time he's in Nashville. And sure enough, we did. We had a guy named Jason Coleman, who is Floyd Kramer's grandson, who played the piano part. It sounds exactly like Floyd. And so when you play the record, it's hard for me to even do that song live, because if I don't have a piano player that can do that, I miss it. He does that slip note thing that Floyd does. So, but I love that song. It's a great song.
Now, on that CD, your sister was executive producer?
Yes. My sister, Michelle Donahue, we had a publishing company and an entertainment company at the time called Cloud Piercer Entertainment. And so she was kind of overseeing things. I actually produced the record as far as going into the studio and producing it. But she helped out with some funding, and it was under her company, which I was part owner in as well at the time. So that's how that came about.
Is she into music also?
Well, she was raised in the same environment that I was raised in, and she's very creative in many facets. My sister has been in the news media. I mean, she's written for newspapers, articles in magazines. She's a writer in general.
So she spends her creative talents in writing rather than performing songs and writing songs.
Right. And she can play the guitar a little bit, and she has a really good voice, but that has never been her interest. Mm-hmm.
Now, in 2009, you teamed up with Guy Gilchrist and the Comics. You did some Christmas shows.
Yeah. Guy kind of picked me to be his band leader there for a while, and we did some shows around town, and we worked for Sun Records. At the time, Sun Records had a club out in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is not too far from here, and we did a show out there with Tommy Cash, Johnny's younger brother, who had a lot of hits in the '60s himself. And we did another show with Mandy Barnett and a few other people over at the Listening Room, which is another venue here in town. And I've worked with Guy a lot. He does a lot of work with Charlie Daniels and the Angelus Home, which is a place in Florida that I believe is for folks with cerebral palsy. And I've gone down there with him, and we've done a show down there. It's right outside of Tampa. So I love Guy. He's one of my best friends, and so we've gotten to work a lot together, and I enjoy that.
To give the listeners a little bit background, Guy Gilchrist is also the creator of the Nancy comics, and he's done some artwork for Jim Hendrix.
Jim Henson.
Jim Henson. Jim Henson. It's late. And he does basically cartooning and instructs on cartooning to kids, right?
Right. Guy is very creative, and he's also a songwriter. He's written some really good tunes, and he and I are just kind of musical buds. He'll come over and we'll just sit down and with the guitar and pass it back and forth and just sort of jam. So.
You two ever write a song together?
We've been threatening to. We've known each other all these years, and so Guy, if you're listening, we need to get that done. But we've had several ideas, and I don't know what it is. As our lives are so busy, he's so busy doing his work, and I'm doing my thing. That when we get together, what we end up doing is just sort of hanging out because we miss each other's company. But we've been threatening to write, and I know one day we will. It's just a matter of time.
Now, you did Christmas shows with Guy. Is there a favorite Christmas song you like?
My favorite Christmas hymn is "O Holy Night," and I've always loved that song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to sing, it's fun to do, and it to me has the most meaning out of all the Christmas carols that you could possibly sing. I think it's right up there among the top Christmas songs of all time.
Excellent. Are you into writing Christmas songs?
I do have a Christmas song. I have a song that's out, and it's available, on Amazon and iTunes and all of those kind of download sites. It's called Florida Christmas. See, I grew up in Florida, and Christmas down there is quite a bit different than Christmas in the North. I never spent a Christmas that I wasn't in short sleeve shirt. I might have had long pants on, but if it were warm enough, I had shorts on usually, and flip flops too. And
so you're saying Santa comes in on a surfboard?
Right. Or what they used to do at the local bank down in Florida, where I'm from, down in Oviedo, Florida. Santa came in on a helicopter. He literally did come in. He flew in, and the kids would be waiting, and they'd fly him in on a helicopter, and he'd land.
Mm-hmm.
And this because his sleigh just there's no snow, so he had to come by helicopter. And they always had a red nose on the front of the helicopter. Had little antlers.
Would you care to do Florida Christmas?
Yeah, we'll try that. Let's see here. I forget what key I do that in. In the backyard, the croquet is set up. The cousins all up for a game. It will turn into pure battle royal. But like the sunshine, quick tempers soon fade. Mom carves the ham in the kitchen. We all know just what that means. It's another Florida Christmas. Sit down at the table to eat. It's another warm Florida Christmas, where the crickets sing Silent Night, and the Spanish moss hangs from the oak trees. Children play neath the Christmas sunlight. The orange trees, the sunshine, the warm ocean breeze. There's no place I'd rather be than a warm Florida Christmas. Even Santa, he don't want to leave. No one forgets baby Jesus. Dad reads the story aloud. All hearts and all spirits are thankful. Christ's love in this season abounds. Jay's got the sound up, the game's on. He asked me if I saw that last play. It's a warm Florida Christmas. I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, I'm up where these cold winds are blowing. They do Christmas up here their own way. Can't understand understand why I love going down south where those old palm trees sway to another warm Florida Christmas where the crickets sing Silent Night and the Spanish moss hangs from the oak trees. Children play neath the Christmas sunlight. The orange trees, the sunshine, the warm ocean breeze. There's no place I'd rather be than a warm Florida Christmas. It's the only Christmas for me. Yeah, a warm Florida Christmas. Even Santa, he don't want to leave.
Well, you definitely don't get those Florida Christmases in Nashville.
No, it's a little more windier and cold up here, but it's not as cold as where you're from.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, you play a lot of songwriters' nights, and I've told you this before we got on the mic, that you do a lot of backup guitar work for people that don't play guitar or need somebody to stand in, and no matter what song they do, you seem to get all the guitar licks in the right place.
Hey, with the exception of one or two times. But
how do you accomplish this?
Well, I write charts. You know, in Nashville they use something they call the number system.
Mm-hmm.
And, so any musician